All right, let's jump right in. Have you ever looked at a huge success story and just wondered, what's the secret? I mean, is it just raw talent, dumb luck? Well, today we're going to pull back the curtain on the one skill that, more than anything else, seems to be the real engine behind greatness. You've probably heard this one before, right? It's a classic from Benjamin Franklin, and it's stuck around for a reason. It perfectly sets the stage. It's this powerful, timeless warning that a lack of preparation is basically just a roadmap to failure. Okay, but let's flip that on its head for a second. If failing to prepare is preparing to fail, then what happens when you actively prepare? Well, it means you're preparing to succeed. And that simple switch, it changes everything from a scary warning into an incredibly empowering promise. It's so easy to look at successful people and just chalk it up to luck or being in the right place at the right time. But that's almost never the full picture. Success is rarely an accident. It's more like the final amazing performance you see on stage, but you're forgetting about the months and months of grueling rehearsals that happen backstage. You know, a great way to think about it is like an iceberg. We only ever see that little 10% of success that's sticking out of the water. What we miss is the massive 90% hidden underneath, all those countless hours of practice, planning, and getting ready that actually holds the whole thing up. So to really get a handle on this, let's look at how the absolute best of the best operate. They aren't just more talented than everyone else, they are total masters of preparation. And we're going to start with one of the greatest athletes in history. Our first case study? Michael Phelps. The guy is arguably the greatest Olympian ever. But his real superpower wasn't just what he did in the pool on race day. Nope, it was what he did for years behind the scenes, getting ready for absolutely every possibility you can imagine. But here's the absolute key. He didn't just prepare for everything to go right, he was obsessed with preparing for things to go wrong. His coach would literally have him practice swimming in the dark, or would step on his goggles to crack them, just to simulate them filling up with water. The idea was to make his response to a crisis a total reflex. And boom, here's the payoff. At the 2008 Beijing Olympics, in the middle of a huge race, his goggles filled with water. He was swimming blind. But did he panic? No, because he'd already been there 1,000 times in practice. He knew his stroke count by heart, kept his cool, and won the gold. That wasn't luck. That was a victory that was years in the making. And look, this mindset, this idea of preparing for disaster, it's not just some sports psychology trick. It is a core principle for the smartest investors on the planet. They don't just cross their fingers and hope for the best. They actively plan for the worst. So what does that actually look like? Well, just like Phelps prepared for broken goggles, smart investors prepare for market crashes. They build up emergency funds. They diversify their assets so one hit doesn't sink them. And maybe most importantly, they prepare their emotions so they don't sell everything in a panic. Preparation is really about controlling what you can control in a world that's, well, pretty uncontrollable. Okay, so we've seen why this stuff matters, but how do you actually, do it? Well, the great news is there's a pretty simple, really powerful framework that you can start using like today. It really just boils down to these 4 things. First, you gotta define your goal clearly. You need to know exactly what you're aiming for. Second, you break it into small steps. This turns some massive, scary goal into a simple to-do list. Third, and this one is so important, you anticipate potential problems. That's the Michael Phelps mindset right there. And finally, number 4, you practice, review, and adjust. Because preparation isn't something you do once, it's a loop. You're constantly learning and tweaking your plan. But let's just pause on step 3 for a second, because this is the secret sauce. The simple act of asking, what if? What if my laptop dies right before the big presentation? What if the client asks this one really tough question? Asking what if is how you build backup plans. It's what turns sheer panic into a calm, confident response. To make this crystal clear, let's look at 2 super common scenarios. We'll imagine 2 different people with the exact same talent, but one prepares and one doesn't. You'll see the difference is just night and day. First up, a big university exam. We all know these 2 people, right? You've got the planner, who prepared a little bit each week. They walk in calm, cool, and collected, ready to perform at their best. Then you have the crammer, who's a stressed out, anxious mess, just hoping they get lucky. Preparation here isn't about being smarter. It's about being able to use how smart you are when it counts. It's the exact same thing at work. The prepared person comes in, they know their data, they've anticipated the hard questions, they look like a leader. The unprepared person, they're just winging it, and it shows. Now, over a whole career, which one of those two do you think is getting the promotion? It's a no-brainer. So this all brings it right back around to you. This isn't just some high-level theory for Olympians and billionaires. It is a practical, powerful tool for your own life. And the best part is, you can start right now. You see, we don't have to wait for some huge life-or-death moment to start preparing. The real power here comes from making preparation a small, consistent daily habit. It's all those little wins that add up over time into massive results. So where do you start? Don't think about preparing for a marathon. Just think about preparing for tomorrow. Take 5 minutes tonight to plan out your workday. Think through that tough conversation you need to have. Sketch out a quick weekly budget. These little acts are the real building blocks of a successful life. And this is why it's so critical to start today. You know why? Because opportunity, it doesn't send you a calendar invite. It doesn't wait for you to feel ready. It just shows up. And that brings us to this absolutely brilliant quote from the legendary coach John Wooden. The practice has to be done before the game. The preparation has to happen before the opportunity knocks. So the final question for you isn't if an opportunity is going to come your way, but whether you'll be prepared when it does.